Welcome to this live stream, which apparently started 10 minutes before we actually appeared. Welcome to the solar eclipse Mercury retrograde season. And today I've got a very special guest, Carmen Benton, who is my client, who is a mindset and energy coach, and who made a very courageous move in her life that's totally paid off already, even though it probably defies logic and all sorts of things, but she followed her intuition. So we are here to talk about how to transition from a 3D job to a 5D business, which is what Carmen did. So welcome to this live stream, Carmen.
Thank you, Rhea. It's such a pleasure to be here and to share the story that I know many want to be their own, make their own, and yet are so paralyzed or afraid of even thinking about it seriously. Because I know I was there for a long time.
Yeah. So hello for everybody who's joining. If you can, guys, share this across different groups, if you can, engage with it so that we gather more people, because there are so many undercover light workers who are stuck in 3D jobs, who perhaps feel the call to start something but lack courage. And just to put it in perspective, Carmen, you weren't in just any job. So it wasn't, you had a lot to lose. It wasn't just like, yeah, you had some mundane job which wasn't bringing you much money. You were on very good six figures in an executive position, and yet you decided to hand your notice. How did that happen?
Oh my God. So I gotta share a little bit of the story though, because I have been working my entire life to get where I got. I mean, I had the corner office, the title, the team, the respect, the income, everything, right? Like I have been working my tail off to get, and yet I was miserable. I was very unhappy because I had this goal my entire life to do something bigger, something better, something that will help other people transform their lives. And I have literally been muting that voice inside me for at least consciously 15 years. I'm sure I had it my entire life, but consciously for 15 years. And it got to the point where it didn't matter everything I got. I just, it was not worth it. Like I had this empty space inside of me. And if you are there, you know what I'm talking about. It's not about, oh, you just say that because you had the money, because it happened at every stage of my career. It's like I wanted to do more. So eventually enough was enough. And I decided to do what I was meant to do, which is to transform lives with my gifts. And I love when you said that there's a lot of light workers that are not necessarily coming out and are awakened, because I was like the closet light worker.
I think there's many of us like that. In a way, so was I.
I had all these gifts. I always had gifts. More have been activated and awakened since I actually decided to commit to this work. But I always had gifts, and I used them in my professional life. I mean, I never read a resume and always hire the best people because I can read people's energy. And when I was in meetings with toxic people, I will protect myself. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I will protect myself, and it was
Yeah,
great.
and I think probably the best story about how you followed your intuition, how it saved your life, which, if you don't mind sharing with us, was
Yes.
how you like escaped
Yes.
death
Yes.
and
So
making a
I
very intuitive decision. So
Right. So I always had, as I say, always had gifts, always have intuition. Now, this event that I'm going to share with you was the one that said, okay, I am going to listen to this voice always. So I graduated from my grad school the the spring of 2001. So it was like May. And I had a couple of job offers. One was in Wall Street Center. Probably some of you know where I'm going with this. and other one was in California, the ones that I was considering taking. These were both a six-figure offers already. I was 24 years old. Now you can do the math to see how old I am. And so I, after graduating from a master's from Harvard Business School, I mean, why wouldn't you go to Wall Street? That's what you go to that school for. And I knew that talking about potential financial income on a job, even though they start at the same level, that would take me further faster. Probably would burn me out faster too. But when you're 24, young and eager, like, it doesn't matter, right? You just want the money. But I just couldn't get myself to be excited about it. And something just didn't feel right. And against all the advices that I got from everybody and everyone telling me that I was crazy, I decided to go to California and take the job in California. So I started my job in California July 9, 2001.
And you know what happened 2 months later?
And 2 months later, I get a call from a friend. I get 3 hours difference, right? So I'm sleeping. It's 6 a.m. And I get a call from a friend frantically to my cell phone because I haven't lost contact with that person. So they didn't know if I had taken one job or the other. And I'm like, how do you dare to wake me up at 6 a.m, right? I haven't talked to you forever. Well, he thought that I might have been in the Twin Towers. And everybody, unfortunately, who was at the office for Goldman Sachs in the 93rd floor of the Twin Towers died. I know a lot of people escaped it too because the train broke down and there were all kinds of things happening in New York that saved a lot of people. But whoever was in the office that day died.
And you?
And I was in California.
Safe and sound on your six-figure job. And, your intuition saved you.
It totally did. It totally saved me. And that day, well, I was in a very deep trauma for like a week, right? Because I'm like a realization that could have been me. And I by the miracle of, I didn't call it intuition back then. I didn't know anything about energy. By the calling of these voice that talked to me, I was saved.
Yeah.
And so, I started thinking about it. And that wasn't even like my real awakening. That was the beginnings of it. From that point forward, I realized, okay, I have a sixth sense, right? I have intuition. And I started listening to it for everything. Do I go on a date? Do I eat this? Do I hire this person? Do I apply for that job? Do I ask for the raise today or next week? And I just start practicing with the intuition until it's a muscle, right? Like you get very good at it.
Yeah, but then arrives a point where you realize that all that you worked for, the jobs, the titles, the corner office, wasn't really filling that void. And when we first started working together, you were still in this job and you were contemplating that. I remember it was like, okay, we will get to the point where I remember you were trying to start a side hustle.
Yes.
And you were putting a lot of conditions on your business. I remember when you first had a session with me, it was like, oh, it's when the business shows me that it's actually worth it, then I will leave my job. Then we've done a bunch of work energetically where we've uncovered some ancestral patterns, why you were not trusting the business. It had to do with the business of your mom, where she had trauma when she started a business. Someone did something really naughty and she had to shut down and take a job. And we kind of regulated this, spoke to the field, etc. But then I also remember the moment when you first connected energetically to your business and when we started sending it unconditional love rather than conditional, like when you perform, I will leave my job. And I've never kind of suggested even that decision. But then I remember a couple months later, you came to a session and you said, I handed in the notice. No, I think I first saw it in an Insta story. And I'm like, okay, something happened.
I know. I have to say, the there's so many amazing things that has happened working with you. I mean, I was doing all the things. By the book, I should be making, 7 figures in my coaching business a long time ago. Because of how I'm wired and being a high performing individual in a corporate job, I had consistency. I was in every platform doing the things. And I'm going to qualify that because doing things by itself don't get you anywhere, right? You have to be energetically aligned with that and clear all the webs that you might have in your head with beliefs and patterns and all those stuff that you help me clean. But I actually want to share something, because I don't know that you recall and how powerful one sentence of speaking with you actually make me make one of the best decisions in my life. So at first I was working with Rhea, like in a different matter. It was like a lower entry level package or something. And I really wanted to work with her one-on-one. And I said something like, well, when I make the money, then I'll invest. And you said something, and it wasn't pushy at all. It was really the slap in the face I needed to like say, get over your BS right now and do what you have to do. Because I knew what I have to do. Nobody needed to tell me. I wanted to do this. I was just scared like everybody else. And you said something like, well, isn't that nice putting conditions on something? And then it triggered on me. I don't even remember the exact words, but I remember the energetic imprint of your comment. And it was like, wow, I am putting a lot of conditions on this thing being successful. And it made me remember, what happens same with money, right? When you make money the bad guy, oh, it's never around, I cannot trust it, blah, 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 blah. How would money want to be with you? And with your work and creating an energetic persona being of my business and being able to connect with it, it's like, well, you need to treat them with respect and love and appreciation and trust, right? Like, well, if you're going to put conditions on these relationships before you start, I'm not going to take you in any dates. That's kind of like
yeah, and you obviously were working a lot with self-love. So and you have gone to the self-love journey where you love yourself unconditionally, but the business was loved like unless you show me, it was like, prove to me that you can make money, and then I'm gonna start maybe treating you seriously, even though you were consistent. But there wasn't love there. It was almost like, you show me, you perform for me, and then maybe I'll do it. And then something shifted and you arrived at the decision, okay, I'm actually going to put my vote of confidence on this business. And I wasn't involved in that particular decision. That was totally your decision. I've learned after the fact, and I was a bit shocked because I would never ever suggest to anyone.
You're probably scared to like, oh,
I was like, okay, now it's getting real. But then I also thought, the person you are, with your confidence and your dragon frequency, I think you actually needed that. And we talk about when to leave a job and when not to leave a job. But I think for you, it was almost like, okay, when I handed my notice, I almost have no choice now. And this has to work. And it did work because you started making money literally from the month one in business.
Yes.
But what was going on behind the scenes? How did you arrive at the decision?
So first of all, I'm going to say nobody should just go and hand their notice right now without thinking through, syncing with the decision, grounding it. Because even though we want to elevate to like higher consciousness, 5D, we live in a 3D world, right? So our decisions needs to be grounded, right? So I have been percolating in the background my plan, right? Everyone needs to have a plan where I am not going to, and Rhea was great at making sure that my energetic capacity to hold money wouldn't shrink. We work on that, right? Because it's like, okay, you're making all this money, make sure that doesn't shrink so you can still hold that money, right? So if you just decide to hand your notice right now because you're fed up with your boss and you don't have a plan or strategy to how you're going to bring, give birth to your business, then you might get a little, emotional shock. And that can be a little problem, right? So
So just so I can add to it, that was when I first heard of this decision. That was my number one priority. It was like, okay, we need to now navigate it in a way that you don't go into contraction in your nervous system when there is no regularity of this 5-figure paycheck, which you were used to. And one of the first things we did was, I was like, okay, you need to be connecting to money energy. And money energy, treating, again, just like business, treating like a persona, like a person, like a loving relationship, so that you don't go into this contraction where you start, because it's quite a shock. It's quite a big jump. If you have been for 20 years used to this really high salary every single month coming with regularity, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, there is no security of that. So I think for everybody listening here, if you are contemplating this decision, that will be a number one checker. Will you be able to maintain that frequency of ease around money, around security, even if it's not coming with this regularity? And you were able to do it, even though what is interesting here, and I want to point it out because we talked about it yesterday between us, is that, sometimes people don't have as much to lose, as in, the jobs aren't that high paying like your job was. There is no amazing position that you had, all the respect, or the employees, yet they clinging on to that perceived security. So you didn't have, you had so much more to lose, yet you took that leap of faith. But at the same time, what played into your advantage, and something that we worked through quite a lot, was you had already seen big money. So it wasn't a shock for you. It wasn't like, oh my God, because there's this kind of coaching grid which says, oh yeah, 10 grand, 10K months, taken months. But like, you were over that. And there was a moment where you were about to slip into that coaching grid where it was like, oh, but they say that 10K month is good stuff. But I'm like, Carmen, you've already been there. So we need to maintain that frequency of and calibrate to that frequency. So I'm just kind of interjecting here to just show the energetic components of, okay, if you're going to take this leap of faith like Carmen, if you can maintain courage, calm, and nervous system expansion instead of contraction, that's going to work for you. If you're going to leave your job and by the end of the month, you haven't got either financial backing or you haven't got some kind of way of ensuring that you're going to be completely fine, you're going to go into meltdown. And that is what we try to avoid. But you didn't go into meltdown. So what helped you through that kind of, not going into meltdown and actually believing?
Yes. So, I mean, there's so many components. I mean, as a coach in energy healer myself, like, there's things that I do daily, right? Like I recognize the patterns and be able to like talk about it. But quite frankly, even coaches have coaches, right? And so there were times like I will bring to you, it's like, oh, I picked up this pattern, with my mom. Like my mom's business failed when I was 9 years old and it was traumatic. We lost everything pretty much, right? And she was also a corporate person who went into her journey of, she opened a restaurant and she lost it all. And so you helped me clean that. Then we also talk about being connected to the consciousness of money from where I'm from in Latin America. There is a whole different level. I mean, it's like speaking about the money that I was even making as a corporate executive to anyone back home. It's like, you cannot even comprehend, right? It's like too many zeros added at the end, right? And so, but I was attached to that consciousness because that's where I grew up. I was there till I was 20 something. So you helped me actually disconnect from that and get to a higher consciousness of money, right? But it's what I always like to tell people is like the work is not a one and done, right? This is like an everyday thing, and it sounds exhausting, but it's not, because you become used to it. It's like, oh, I had that thought, let me intersect it, let me rewire my brain, let me clear my energy, and then move on and in align to what you want. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot. And this is like transformational. Like this is not very long ago. Like I walk into a YouTube channel of someone and I heard this, and it was remembering the future, right? So how can you remember the future instead of the past? And quite frankly, one of the tools that I use to raise my frequency to get to that is light language, which I got introduced to by you.
Yeah, that definitely helps to anchor in some higher frequencies, which perhaps is really important in this transition. I mean, I invited you here because I don't remember my transition. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been, since school. I left university at 25. I went back to university later, but I've always been an entrepreneur. But so I've never been conditioned to that security of a job. But for you, it's like, okay, how do I anchor higher? But there was also another thing that I want to remember, because that journey is it's only been 4.5 months. You've just broken through the 5-figure threshold. Business been making money since month 1, but it's not been like straight away. It hasn't yet replaced your salary because you were such a high salary, so you're still in this journey. And then I think that there is also another big pattern which showed up to you as well, but it shows up in many people who are light workers, and that goes back to these light workers undercover,
Yes.
which is the light worker persecution and the fear. So for you, it was easy to imagine, because you've had this experience. Okay, when I'm doing a proper 3D job, of course I'm being remunerated. I've got my degrees, I've got my titles, that. But when I come out and I will be openly talking about the woo stuff, then that can become dangerous.
Scary.
And
That
there
was
was,
actually more scary than actually leaving the job, quite frankly. Because, I mean, not in a logical mind, energetically speaking, right? I wanted to say something else about leaving the job really quick, Rhea, if you let me. So I
yeah,
think there's two type of people, right? There is the group of people, which is probably going to be the majority, which can probably do simultaneously build a business and then leave the job when the business is producing enough money. There is the other group of people like me, which I knew I needed to jump. And I have enough trust because I've been working on myself for a long time and I didn't get killed in the Twin Towers, that the parachute will open, right? The parachute will open behind me. But trust is the key word. Now, trust doesn't mean let me sit under a tree meditating like a monk all day.
because you're totally not like that.
Well,
You're a very proactive person.
yeah, and it's like you have to take action. Like as you clean your energy, as you connect to higher frequency, as you like your business tells you what to do when you have that image and that relationship, which is one of the things you help me do, is like create my business and be able to like have a conversation, right? Like, should we do this or should we do that? And then be able to feel in your body, is that a yes, is that a no? Some people can hear, some people can see, some people can just feel the sway of the body. It will tell you. But then it's like, okay, let's do the action, right? Because action is what creates the momentum. So I like a lot of people feel like they get confused when it's like, well, let me just trust and sit there. No, you have to.
Yeah,
You have to show.
do you know what is really interesting? What you kind of bringing here, which is something that I've been now witnessing quite a lot, working with other clients. I've got two types of clients. Mostly they're female. I've got some beautiful men who joined my group. Hello, Matthew and Corey, and others. But mostly I work with female. And what I want to say to you guys is that there is usually some imbalance between masculine and feminine. You are quite good at balancing these two. Maybe through your blue avian imprint. I know you were for a long time more on a masculine side, but I just want to touch on this because you talked about this. On one hand side, total surrender to your intuition, which you've got it, but at the same time, you never sit on your backside and you never just contemplate and manifest. You manifest actively in a way. And this is something which I found lately, I've been doing a lot of enrollment consultations for my group Radiance that's starting on the 1st of May. And this became like a theme, also working with other clients, is this imbalance between masculine and feminine. And what's been happening is there is a lot of real masculine or feminine wounds. So how it can show up, I come across more I think the feminine, the masculine wound. So people lean totally into their feminine. And if I have any divine feminine activators here, channels, there is very often the tendency to totally let go of structure. People are literally allergic to masculine energy. And there is a good reason for it. There may have been some really bad wounds where a boss was really oppressive, whether they were burnt out, whether there was some masculine presence in their life, which was totally dominating and oppressive, not supportive. So they tend to see the masculine as oppressive and totally rejected. And I have not yet seen, I'm not saying this is not possible, but I haven't yet seen one instance where people can build a successful business just on feminine energy. If I find it, I will, I'm like, amazing. I would like to see this formula. But what I have seen, what works, is that divine union, which you come and embody perfectly. Because on one hand side, you've got this high intuition, complete surrender to the guidance that you're receiving from your business, from your higher self. But at the same time, there is action. And this is something that's distinctly missing in many, many feminine businesses, where, and I almost see it when I'm having those conversations. I say the word structure, or there is something to do, like a to-do list, and literally there is this freeze or avoidance. And it's just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm only doing flow. And that doesn't seem to work. And of course, adversely, I work with people who, like you, maybe came from corporate environment, and there is an imbalance on the other side, where it's almost like, am I allowed to have a bit of flow? Am I allowed to maybe not have so much discipline? And that sends them into meltdown, because it's like, unless I do all these things, if I take a day off or a week off, it's all going to collapse. So it's bringing those two frequencies into balance, which is not like a 2-minute job. It's a process, like you say, it's like a daily practice. So you managing to balance it very well.
Thank you. But I have to say, it wasn't always like that. So I am an Enneagram 8, for anyone who knows what that means. And the Enneagram 8 is someone who is always challenging the status quo to protect themselves. So the wounds that I had to heal within me made me so I am independent. I don't need anybody. I can do it all by myself, right? And so you can leverage whatever wounds you have to create success to a certain point. And one of the things I realized is that I was just as far as I was going to make it. Excuse me. I have made it as far as I was going to make it without healing my mindset and my energy. So I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I was all in the masculine and not necessarily the high masculine. It was very controlling. Control is something that we do when we have to protect. If you had a crown for a control freak queen, that was mine. Like, I will control everything and everybody around me because it made me feel safe. So doing and taking action is the controlling thing in a way. Now I was able in my journey to rise to the divine masculine, where I was more supporting than dictating. Right. And I was able to practice that with my teams at work. Now, I had to be in the masculine because I was in a male-dominated industry. I was the only woman vice president in my team. And I was always surrounded by men in the lower masculine. And so I had to be in the masculine. I wasn't very good in my feminine. And I realized this in my first marriage. That's one of the things that I had to heal, because my relationships were all crumbling. One of the reasons I decided to follow my intuition and just take the leap and do my life purpose is because everything else in my life was crumbling. The career was great,
Mm-hmm.
great, but everything else was crumbling. But I realized, like, oh, I don't know how to transition to my feminine. So I have been practicing that more and more and more. But I mean, I remember the first couple of times we talked, Rhea, that you're like, slow down. Because I'm like, I'm gonna do this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I so appreciate because the reminders, I have allowed me to discover the beauty of knowing that, you know what? Taking a bath, doing a little bit of self-care, going to Hawaii like I'm going today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I
Uh,
was going to say that you travel a lot and you're managing that with a business now.
yeah, well, but it's like that is actually working, believe it or not. Because when you connect to your divine feminine, then you can get those ideas. But you have to implement them in the 3D reality that we live. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I am a big advocate with that. That's totally my attitude towards business and teaching business. So anybody who comes on any business journey with me, like Radiance or Iridescence, you will have both. You're not going to hide in one polarity.
Mhm.
And unfortunately or fortunately, the journey of a business will also confront us with those blocks and with those limitations and with those wounds. It's like, okay, what am I in avoidance of? What am I not allowing myself? In your case, it was like, it was very difficult to allow yourself to be in that feminine because of the conditioning you've had in the job. But then I see a lot of the other way around, where it's like, okay, when I hear word strategy, structure, I want to hide. That's when you totally in your feminine. So
Yeah.
I am totally on, like, okay, yes, we're working energetically with the living consciousness of the business. Yes, we are working intuitively. We're connecting to the money energy. We're doing all the galactic downloads. But for goodness sakes, if there is no structure and a strategy, it's just going to flop, because that feminine energy also needs some structure to flow, and masculine energy doesn't have to be oppressive. It can actually be in its highest, like you say, in the highest expression. It can be supportive. So we absolutely need both, and I think you are doing a fantastic job embodying both. I want to talk about one more aspect that also cropped up when you started your business. And it is something that I see again as a pattern in many people who make that transition from a job, from a very solid background, to being a light worker. It's a light worker persecution template, because we think that, oh yeah, it's just a limiting belief, I'm just going to suck it up, overcome it, come out, and it's all going to be good. But that fear of expressing yourself in your weird and wonderful woo way, it's very real and is linked to real trauma from past life, from the collective, and you faced it and you've overcome it. So how it showed up, I think you saw some really negative comments and people mocking your teacher that you've that he that kind of taught you energy work,
Mhm.
amongst others, because you're obviously very naturally gifted. But you saw that, and this brought up this whole pain body, and kind of, and we've then overcome it. But can you share a little bit about that, because it's a real feeling, like
Yes.
when yeah.
How would you want me to get? So, and by the way, this actually I can trace back to why I needed to quit my job the way I did it, because this has been one of the things that was holding me back, and I didn't know it until it became so apparent. So again, energy healer. So I do a lot of work on myself. I play with energy all the time. I can do DNA healings, all kind of stuff. So I was in Facebook and I saw a Facebook ad of one of my teachers, and I was just gonna go in the comments and put some love, and it's like, oh my god, this is so good, like you gotta do it. And there was so much hate, and I immediately had a vivid flash of a past life of my getting stoned. And when you think about it, bad comments in social media or the trolls, it's
Mhm.
the modern age equivalent of getting stoned. And it was like this flash of where like stone, mutilated, crucified, burned. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go heal that, right?
Mhm.
And I did what I could by myself, and then Rhea helped me more. And literally, oh, and then I got this like last puzzle. This is funny because I got this last puzzle after we did that. It's like, now you gotta tell your mom. And I'm like, what? And I
And
was like,
just for the context, your mom is
so I
the
was born and raised
person who,
Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, and she's very, very Catholic. She's also very gifted. And good thing she doesn't speak English, so she's never going to watch this. But she's also very gifted, but afraid to express it. Um, so she's definitely a psychic. Um, and so I was one of my ones. I felt rejected since I was little, and I always been trying to please her. I mean, like my grades, my education, my work. In the back of my head was always to please her. So I was terrified. I mean, like, tell me to jump off the bridge, I jumped. Tell me to tell my mom I'm an energy healer. That was rough.
so
But
is that the reason why your business is in English and not in Spanish?
no, that's well. There's a lot of. I don't think Latin America has awakened quite yet. There's people.
Oh,
There's people.
it's happening.
I have some friends that you know get energy healings from me, but I'm not allowed to tell who they are.
Well, okay, jokes aside, I actually believe that things are shifting big time in Latin America, and I can feel it. I've got
Well, you're there.
good
Yes.
friends, yeah,
Yes.
good friends who have shifted the expression from English to Spanish, and magic happened in the businesses. But
Mhm.
going back to your mom,
Yes.
you
Yes.
had to face and actually tell her, and that was more scary than telling people on TikTok or
Oh yeah,
Instagram.
but you see, that was the thing, right? Like that's what's one of the reasons that I knew I needed to take the leap and departure will build, because there was, and I didn't know what it was, but it was definitely this light worker persecution wound that a lot of us have. And so, I can talk in TikTok, and I've done healings, and all the time I do them. Like, I've done it in TikTok, I do it in my group. I'm doing one in Hawaii this Saturday to activate the throat chakra. I mean, like, but it was this like confronting, like literally own it, embody what I am now. This is who I am, all of it. And you actually, Rhea, this is one of the things that I'm always gonna keep with me. Like, you always, through this whole time we've been working together, been very intentional in making sure that I embody all of me.
Yes, I
All
remember.
of it.
Yes,
Not just
because
this little bit, and not just this little bit.
yeah, because it is a real thing, and it's not just you, but that's what I always am intentional. I see people almost like they happy to express themselves through this little window. Okay, and I remember you were showing that little window in when before you jumped the job, you were like
Yes.
showing people through this little window of, okay, I can say a bit, but either you were talking completely to the intuitives or completely to the executives, but never the two. But you are all of it: feminine, masculine, executive, mother of three, energy healer, mindset coach. And it was, I think it also came from this where you wanted to niche yourself. Like, oh, I need to put myself in a box. I'm like, you're too big for a box. You just need to
I
be
know.
all of you. But yeah, what happened then with your mom? How did
Oh
she
my
take
God.
it?
So I got hives just thinking about it, literally, like broke down in hives. And I knew that's what I needed to do. So I'm like, okay, I need to tell her. And like everything in my life, I'm just gonna rip the band-aid because it's been there for too long. So this is good. I don't know if you remember like how I told her, but like I was in the bathtub thinking like how I'm gonna do this, and then I was meditating. So new light language came. One of them was my soul's light language, and I was singing it, and I'm recording myself. Send it to Rhea so she can tell me what these old things are that I'm downloading. And then the next day I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna tell her. So I sent her a recording of my light language. And she knew exactly what I was trying to tell her.
Oh
That's
wow.
how gifted she is.
Oh wow.
Now
Good story.
it wasn't, I mean, it was a better ending than I thought it would be. It wasn't necessarily happy, you know. She's still scared. She's like, oh, you should hide it. And I'm like, no, no hiding. I've been hiding for 47 years. No more hiding.
That's incredible. That's awesome. So, sometimes, sometimes this is also a big fear that you're touching on, where people don't lean into their soul mission because the biggest fear is what their family and friends will think. It's not so much that how they're gonna, because it's like how I'm gonna be received. That's another big thing. It's like, how am I gonna be received? And you, by telling this story, actually reminds me of that, where people are like, what will my family and friends think of me? And what I want to say is that all of these things, all of these thoughts, all of these limitations, all of these fears, they are real. It's not just something to be like, oh, I just choose to believe differently. Oh, it's just a limiting belief. I'm going to shift out of it. I don't longer believe. If you actually dig into it, it will show you so much more than what's on the surface. And then you can deal with it. And as we're chatting here, it seems like this whole process, it probably sounded really good on the headline. Hey, you jumped your six-figure job, you started a business, it now broke through the five-figure threshold, it's bringing you money from month one. How amazing. But like, look at, when I'm talking here to you, I'm just realizing how much freaking work. We're not even touched about all the stuff you do on social media. We're not even touched about all the kind of external stuff, but like, how much internal work did you need to do? How many layers did you have to strip to even be where you are?
Yes, and there's still layers, right?
Yeah.
It's like an onion, we're still peeling. But the evidence of it working, you know, the proof is in the pudding, like they say,
Yeah.
right? As you said, you know, I have been, because I trusted, I have been rewarded by the universe from day one. I've had clients. The clients that I had from day one, still my clients.
And they're
Uh,
great as well. They're not just any clients, they're
yes,
really good clients. I like
yes,
soul
yes.
aligned, and you having a good relationship with them. So it's not just like, oh, I'll just take anyone. You actually
No,
have really
yes.
good clients as well.
And I'm getting like testimonials, unsolicited testimonials, video testimonials, you know, when people pull up their phone to record and tell their story, like, this is how I was and this is where I am now. I mean, that is so amazing. But also, it's like, what is very funny, because going in this balance of masculine energy, like, I wanted to do this launch like in like 2 weeks from now, right? And I was going, and then on Saturday I told Rhea, it's like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it, because I know I could do it if I stay in my masculine, but my intuition was telling me to back up a little bit and not. So I call it off. I push it away. I'm not doing it. I'm just pushing it away.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to Hawaii today because I need to clean my energy, recharge myself. And then I got a download of doing a throat chakra activation. And I'm like, I'm just gonna invite whoever wants to come, and and put a
And
little prize there. And I have 22 people coming.
And maybe some people who are here on live also want to join. Go check Carmen's profile. Straight from Hawaii, there will be an energy transmission for throat chakra, help you with expression, and it's by donation. So
Yes.
whatever you want. But I was always say, when you said you're gonna do it by donation, I'm like, do you know Vatican didn't do too badly on donations, so will you.
That was so funny. And I always, one of the things I really appreciate also of working with you is, um, you're always there. Like, I'm a person, because I'm a coach too, right? But also, I have boundaries. I respect people's boundaries. Not like I'm texting her every time, but like, she's there. She checks the boxer. She checks your social media. She comments on your things. She gives you encouragement. Like, like, how many times you told me that's great, but you're so much more than that. And for me, that's like,
Yeah,
that's
whenever
how I
she said,
need to be
I'm just
spoken.
a mindset and energy coach, I'm like, you need a better strap.
I know, we're coming up with a name. If you have a suggestion, just put it in the comments too.
Yes. Yeah. People are asking for your Facebook page and stuff like that. So I will share it maybe in the comments after our stuff. But you tagged in the post, so people should be able to see you in you tagged in the post. But
Yeah.
if you're watching on YouTube, then we go onto my Facebook, and you
I
are
can
on
just put my link through. All my links are there.
yeah,
So
just okay. Let me just pull that up. But yeah, it's awesome. And you know, like, look, 22 people signed up for your transmission, which is not a free transmission. That's amazing. You know, you kind of keep growing, and to fill rooms of groups and stuff like that in such an early stage is just a testimony of just how much work has gone into it. And I feel like, for anybody listening to this, it really is like a devotional practice day by day. Like you said, it's not an easy fix. It takes time recalibrating, but it's so worthwhile because this is just the beginning. But the fun, the joy you get, the passion, the satisfaction, and the freedom where you travel, you can work from wherever you want, that is absolutely worth it. But at the same time, this is not something that will happen accidentally.
mhm.
I what I'm picking up, what I'm like realizing actually, because you know, when we're doing this work every week, every month, we're contacting over Voxer and stuff like that, we're like, I'm not really thinking about just how much work it is. But now when we're looking back on your journey, it's only been 4.5 months, but it's like so much has been done. This is not done accidentally. This is really a devotional practice of actually being faithful to your business, faithful to your vision, very courageous, and very, very persistent. And this is another thing that, you know, with you, you never give up. It's just like, it's not even in question. So anybody listening here, if you like dithering, it's like, oh, should I go this? Should I go that? Goodness me, you need to really commit to this business or whatever sole purpose you've got. It's not going to happen if you put a half-assed effort. You're going to get half-assed results.
Correct.
Simple as that.
Yes. And you know, it's a journey. There's ups and downs. There's ups and downs. I mean, it looks amazing for I mean, it's amazing. I have zero complaints, right? But there's been weeks where it's like maybe things are not going as fast as I wanted, because for me it's like I wanted it yesterday. Right?
That's
And
the dragon energy. That's
I
the
know, I
dragon
know.
impulse. Like, I wanted, like Freddie Mercury, I
I
wanted
want it all and I
I
want it
wanted now.
now. Yes. But you've been there to, like, you know, pull me up of the dips. And even though my dips are nothing like compared to what they used to be, right? Like I always raising my energy, but there's still dips. And you've been there to, you know, pull me out, brainstorm with me. And here's one thing. I assume that most people who are contemplating joining Radiance or Iridescence, you know, are coaches or, you know, that type of services.
Healers, yeah.
How do you expect that someone is going to pay you and invest in you if you don't invest in yourself? That's all I'm going to leave it right there, because that is why I have many coaches in different areas, right? Because, you know, I don't know it all. And you know what? Time is the most valuable resource that you have. You can always make money. I mean, literally, like if I want to go clean houses, I can make money right now, right? Or can work in Starbucks. There's no, I just went to get a pedicure. I had to make an appointment 3 days ago because there's no people who want to work. So you can always make money, but you can never get your time back. And so if you have someone who's been there, who's already making money, who has a successful business, they can show you how to do it in a way that's aligned with you, with your mindset, with your energy and all that. You just found her. Her name is Rhea.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But at the same time, what I say, yes, I'm here available and I do care. That's like what you said about you. I'm always there. I am always there. I know there's a lot of hype and I know there's a lot of stuff where people will put a lot of shiny promises at the front end, but delivery isn't there or they're not present. I love being present. I'm buzzing off seeing, you know, little and big successes. But at the same time, I'm never also going to claim anybody's success because, yes, I am a co-pilot. I am this kind of presence that perhaps collapses those timelines, makes it really, really smooth. And, you know, all the creases, I've been there, I've been in big dips, so I can hold that frequency. But at the same time, you know, the glory is all yours, it's your business. It's your decisions, it's your courage, and that courage paid off. So thank you so much, Carmen, for being the example for all of these people who probably be also catching on a replay of just what's possible. And, you know, let's wish Carmen a really big, steep, dynamic trajectory of growth, because the sacrifices she made, the work she's put in, and the amazing gifts she's bringing to her clients, it's just literally not just her soul mission, but an inspiration for many. So thank you so much, Carmen. And yeah, it's awesome that I've got the honor and pleasure to witness this journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask them in comments. We probably keep an eye on them. We answer. If you can, give Carmen a follow. I'm just going to have a little look here. Maybe I'll put your link tree quickly so that people can find you. Maybe some of them will want to, I've got your link tree here. Okay. Maybe some of them will want to join the Hawaii transmission. From my side, I'm just about to take a group of amazing souls, such as Carmen, you'll be joining as well, on a Radiance journey, which is 12 months journey of mastering strategy and energy and doing all this work that we've done in the last 4 months and more. So you can reach out, find out. We're starting on the 1st of May. And if this live touched you in a way where it's like, okay, I need to do something here with my life. I'm done being in hiding. I'm done being like shrieking. I'm actually all for my business, my soul purpose. Then I invite you to reach out, and I'll be more than honored to guide this journey for you. Thank you so much, everyone.